labor last night, so that's where he is. In case you guys were like, did he just quit? And he quit to become a father. And we woke up real early today and drove from like nowhere, Indiana, somewhere next to Cincinnati, and yeah, there's not a lot of sleep out here, but it's good.
Because you are performing in some cases night after night after night after night for years, yeah, you do have this unbelievable chemistry. What do you attribute that to?
I think we've just all known each other for so long at this point that even beyond the music, it's kind of been like friends since high school for the most part. So that one back. I'm not screwing this one up.
And we've been working together for a decade, so it was, yeah.
10 years in the main.
Oh, it does work now. I'm quite ill.
So let's go ahead and take people back a little bit. Let's give them some background on Doomtree. I understand.
West and a couple of these guys went to Arts High, but we all kind of knew each other, and we're making music like in different bands and stuff like that, and just knew each other because we were the only music kids in that high school, right? Like they were doing bands and stuff. Then we all kind of, I guess, were making rap music, I guess, at some point, but independently of each other. I had a different rap group going on, but I would get beats from POS, which I would pay for those $30 cash, okay, but I could record it at his house for free. So it was a deal. It was kind of steep at the time, though. I remember $30. I was like, I need four.
So Laserbeak, is that still the same deal? $30 they get to record at your house?
He's a little bit more expensive
I
now.
started at $50. It was when I started, and you didn't get to record at my house.
But you couldn't get it on anything other than a cassette tape. So I had to like, you know, borrow like my dad's car and like drive around in my dad's car because it had a cassette player in it. So I'd drive around and like listen to a beat that he gave me because there was no other way I could listen to a cassette because it was just a ridiculous format. At some point, we got a little bit of like steam going. These guys started Doomtree Records, and then we all sort of jumped in from there. However, when we called it records, it really wasn't that. Like we had got a computer that burned CDs and enough credit card leeway to like go to Kinko's and print covers and buy slimline cases, and then we would go to a show and like have these burned CDs and like cut out the covers and slip them in the slimlines and try to sell those at the shows to like pay for the next round of CDs. And I think that after 14 rounds of those CDs, we actually put out a real like record, which was POS Ipecac. And then I think from there we just sort of kept it like 100% of the money went back into Doomtree until we could afford to print them on real CDs, and that's kind of how it went.
Doomtree brought to you by Kinko's.
Totally.
You know, for a lot of artists, their surroundings have an impact on how they write music, the sounds that they produce. Can the same be said about Doomtree? Has Minneapolis shaped the kind of music that you guys make, whether it's individually or collectively?
That one's always tough for me to answer. You guys may have a better response, but having only made music there, it's really tough for me to know and compare how that whole thing would have gone down in another market. I think that there were a couple of factors that seem important, one of them being like the genre permeability in Minneapolis. I think a lot of cats who look different, wear different clothes, and sound different end up hanging out at bars, and I think that like musicians of very different genres often share stages on a single night. And so I didn't sweat the genre lanes where I may have been conditioned to do so if I grew up elsewhere. And then also just the fact that, you know, the people making moves were doing a lot of the work for themselves, you know.
10 years, but especially the last 5 years, you know, I think the first 5 years you're learning about it, you're kind of getting your basics down, you're getting your chops down, and then over the last 5 years I think it's been this kind of one-upmanship of like, I'll hear a Paper Tiger beat or a C Salado beat and I gotta go back down to my basement and make something else because I gotta kind of keep raising the bar on each other. So I think with this crew record, making the beats together, that was even amplified more because now we're in the same room making the beat together, so it's like everyone's really bringing their A game.
I think also too, aside from just us getting better at doing what we do every year, the technology is advancing fast enough where there's new sounds and new things that make what we're trying to do a lot easier every year too. So I think that's a huge part of it as well.
That, and I would think that as MCs, I think we've all kind of found our own sound and our own lane, and have kind of carved out that niche for like our own individual styles and become comfortable in that. I think that there's a lot of time spent in development where you're trying to really find your voice about like who am I and what is my music supposed to sound like, and you kind of go through different phases about what you think your song should be, and then you find where you're supposed to be, and then you kind of start running with it, and the more you run with it, like the deeper ingrained your style becomes in, like your character becomes a part of your style, and then you kind of are more confident in that, and your music is better. So I feel like I'm better than I was, but I'm still like learning every day how to do this.
All right, let's hear a better Sims. Can we cue up Bangarang off of No Kings?
Nope.
Or we can do it a cappella.
I think someone's email isn't loading on their phone.
Raps.
Did you check the IMAP settings or the POP?
We need a genius on the second floor.
Anticipated that this would be so strange.
When it breaks, we'll always come. We'll always come to us to fix it. When it aches to make it, smile, we'll make it. Till then, we'll steer it. Gotta steer, we'll swim the distance. Fear after persistence. They hate their pity, they say we too heady, too heavy, too many, too much punk, much too drunk, too much luck, love too much. Yup, but we earned it all. All birth to the curtain calls, and the time is up. They ain't got enough, and it burns them up before two. When first ad, it was D4, T-Rock, talk right, big shot, way more than a name drop. But I got y'all, but I see y'all, but I keep y'all. When the beat stops, I built more than a rap career. I got my family here, but some punks wanna jump up with a sharp tongue and they front up.
Down the escalator, outside, driving away. I would advise you to slow down, man. No. My dad said, keep your overhead low. You know, I don't know what kind of financial resources you have access to, but essentially there weren't a lot of people whose advice made a lot of musical sense to me. You know, everybody has their own taste, everybody has their own visions, and other musicians very often would advise me how to be successful in their lane. But when my dad was like, you know, cultivate a taste for like cheap beer and find a cheap apartment, because that frees up all those hours that you'd have to spend working at your day job. True. To develop the skills you'll need to really refine your craft and to really actualize the vision that you've got. So I'd say don't, you know, until you can afford them, like work on starting to like premium beer. You know what I'm saying? And get the black coffee and put shit in it to make it taste good.
Not shit.
Don't put shit in it. You and you know what I mean, and go to Marshall's and buy the cheap shit, right, so that you can spend as much of your time making music and getting really good at it as you can.
I'd say, yeah, aside from like getting used to being poor and being okay with being poor for the rest of your life, I would say remember why you're doing what you're doing on a daily basis, and don't think that tomorrow you even get a show, let alone get a career out of your song today. Like maybe your song is hot right now and you made $100,000 this year, like you should probably talk to somebody about what to do with that, and like, but the right people. Don't go to like the guys who will be hanging around when you start making money, they'll start coming around, and yeah, you just sort of, I don't know, get used to being poor and remember why you're making music, and it's not to make money, because if you were making music to make money, you wouldn't be in this Apple store right now, you know, like you'd be like, whatever.
I think
attached to Dave Grohl or something.
I just think finding people that are on your same level at the same time, that are like-minded, that you can build with, is only going to help. A lot of people, I think, are always trying to like, oh, I need to work with this person that's way bigger than me, and that's going to help me get bigger. Like, the way we did it, we were 7 nobodies, basically, but we all had a shared vision, so we decided to come together. And that's, I think, the only way we really were able to build how we built, because as everyone grew, you know, one person grows, you bring the rest of you with it. It's like this stepping thing. So find some people that are doing the same thing as you, that are not 10 times bigger or smaller than you, that are kind of on the equal level, and get together with them.
So between all of your guys' solo projects, you guys all have your distinct style, and when you come together, you meld incredibly. But how do you guys keep yourselves grounded in terms of your lyrical content, your style, and then still manage to come back together and make a dope ass album?
I think like the songwriting process for this record was we'd put a beat on and loop it, and we'd either start writing and get back together in 20 minutes or whatever and check in like, okay, I got these lines and I'm thinking about going this direction, and people would sort of tailor their work to fit that, or we'd start with like, okay, this song's about the rapture, or this song, here's the chorus for this song. For Bolt Cutter, for instance, like the chorus was first, and no one asked what that chorus meant. You just heard it a couple of times, and then we took our own directions about how we felt about that and how we interpreted that chorus, and kind of went our own ways. So I think that we kind of were able to make these songs more or less fluent, like conceptually fluent, because we would like talk about it as we went through, but not put too many like boundaries on, like, okay, this is about like that one ride in the taxi cab home from this, you know what I mean? Like, we try to make
Pulling from me, pulling from mine, easy to read, but it's just the signs I blur when you need curves over mine. Gotta keep up, speed up, get your feet up. Match mine, match mine, match mine, match mine, match mine. Retail, space. Gravity, I never learned. I'm in the air, stretching out spaghetti western. I make it glow, then let it go, no effort. That attachment only kept your flame sequestered. I just let it have the ember in my chest burn. I wasn't in it for the fame of making profit. I just came to scrape my name into the cinder blocking. Nah, they blocking because the feathers sing. I just burn the oil, toil, man, I fed the flame. You better aim for they tame you, boy. It's a wild world, they coming for your pelt, yeah, boy. They're tolling all the bells, Tolstoy. It's war and peace, peace came to eat, oh boy, oh boy. Match mine, this is generally where people are doing backflips and like... You wanna go out onto the catwalk? No, I'm gonna fall. Now, it's like, gravity is such a pesky thing. Makes every weight sense, like it's worth measuring. Makes every step you take so tentative. If you don't show with purpose, then there's no benefit. I know, only on the surface till we float. So I'll wait, I'll pull for you and throw your hands a rope. I know, you can take time or take time by the throat. So tell me when it's time to go. So tell me when it's time to go. You gotta keep up, speed up, keep your feet up. And then I need to go. That's how we do Doomtree. Alright. Think love, think drugs, and they're the same thing inside. And we struggle or get enough, but it's the same thing. Burn holes in the most games, gotta get friends with the pay, give trust to the page. Turned in when the time's up, earn that age, know how learned in spades. They exist in the outro, in the fade out, and in the background noise. I'm really wishing on my rivals, I got no enemies, we all fall for the decoys. Sometimes it slides right by while we try to decide. Don't lie to yourself, almost ain't good enough. There ain't no extra lines, leave them alone. How we living, very on road, and it's so driven in the freezing cold. Y'all keep chilling, we need tracks you're following. Bold, less fucks given, TGBT, Doomtree citizen. We care like it's cool still. Post everything. How we